I had to go to prison, and I was a single parent, and I didn't have a high school diploma when I got to prison. So I was like, can I get my education? I want to go to school. I can't work for good time like everybody else. So they told me no. They told me I had to be 5 years close custody because I had a life without parole sentence. So that meant I couldn't go to school. I couldn't get my high school diploma. I had to do hard labor. I had to mow lawns. I had to go through the trash and recycle, digging in big trash cans, and there was bloody stuff in there, and it was gross, but we had to do it. I could not refuse work because I would be penalized. So I lost my father at that time, and I was mourning my father. But the next day, after the news, after they told me my father passed away, I had to go to work. If I didn't go to work, I would be considered a program failure. I wasn't working for good time. I wasn't getting my high school diploma. I wasn't doing any of the things that I needed to do so I can set an example for my children. They told me if I didn't work, I would lose rights. I would not be able to visit my children. I would not be able to use the phone. I would have to stay in my room. I couldn't shop canteen. So it's involuntary servitude. There's people who were in there with me, and they were very old. Miss Greenberger, and she had to work, and she didn't have any medications for her arthritis, and she didn't have anything that she needed, and they didn't care. So this is what's happening in our prison systems, and it has to stop.
I did everything from maintenance mechanic to yard maintenance to hair care to working in the print shop to working in different types of labor behind the gates when I was close custody. From the age of 17, I did hair care to yard crew to kitchen to outside yard crew, plant operations, stationary engineer, just any type of job that you could have to run a prison. That's pretty much where they would keep close custodies. Jobs are selected randomly based off of physical, much like in Nazi war camp, when we would be given a physical to determine what type of labor we can do safely. So if you pass a physical, you will 9 times out of 10 be placed in laborious jobs.
Anything else you want to add?
Just that anybody 8 to 80 can get it in the state of California. If you come into the state of California Department of Corrections, as long as you can pass that physical, you will be working in dangerous jobs. I had friends inside that are in their 60s working in dangerous jobs on the docks, moving carts that weigh 2,000 pounds that could easily crush an elderly woman. So I just want people to keep in mind that it isn't always people in optimal health like myself that are inside doing these jobs for decades without pay. It could be your mother or your grandmother or even your baby sister, because I was 17 when I went to prison.
I guess you could say I knew right off the bat that it was a form of slavery, even though I might not have the language at the time. But I knew that if you didn't work, that they would penalize you, and that they didn't intend on paying you. If you had a job that did pay, it only paid you pennies on the dollars. I worked in the kitchen once, or a few times, and one time I worked in the kitchen, they had us work what would be considered overtime because it was a lockdown. Certain groups were on lockdown, so the ones that weren't on lockdown were asked to work extra shifts in place of the ones that were on lockdown. However, even though I was only paid pennies, I still felt like I should be paid for the work that I did overtime, and I didn't get anything for it. So I actually filed a grievance administrative appeal. I appealed and ran it all the way up as high as I could through their channels, and at every level I was denied, and finally told me that per the Constitution that it was legal for them to not pay me for the work that I was also required to do.
I was incarcerated from May 14th, 1971 to October 22nd, 1981. And during that course of time, I think that I was enslaved for a significant part of that time. Over the course of that 10, 11 years that I was incarcerated, I think if I added up all the money that I made while I was incarcerated, it came to probably less than $5,000 completely. The thing that stands out the most was that last job that I had working at the detergent factory at San Quentin. I was working with dangerous chemicals that was making soap, acids that was used to wash off the tunnels that people rode through with very little protective clothing to wear. And I didn't know until one time I was sweeping up all the detergents that we had made, and I swept it on a pile of wet stuff, and it started burning. And I recognized then that we was mixing toxic chemicals, and nobody had even given us a mask.